Donald Trump has commuted the lengthy sentence of former Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich, further demonstrating his disregard for the rule of law, the justice system, and he's just demonstrating his willingness to really use his executive power to curry favors for his buddies. Now, Blagojevich was a Democrat, but why do I say that he's one of Donald Trump's buddies? Well, he had penned an op-ed from prison defending Donald Trump in the impeachment investigation. So remember, Trump doesn't ever do anything for anyone else. Everything he does is based on his own self-interest. So let's talk about his reasoning here. Now first, he explained his reasoning during Chopper Talk, but I'm gonna give you some more insight into his reasoning when we come back from this video.
We have commuted the sentence of Rod Blagojevich. He served 8 years in jail. It's a long time, and I watched his wife on television. I don't know him very well. I met him a couple of times. He was on for a short while of The Apprentice years ago. Seemed like a very nice person. Don't know him, but he served 8 years in jail. There's a long time to go. Many people disagree with the sentence. He's a Democrat. He's not a Republican. It was a prosecution by the same people, Comey, Fitzpatrick, the same group, very far from his children. They're growing older. They're going to high school now, and they rarely get to see their father outside of an orange uniform. I saw that, and I did commute his sentence.
Now, if you're fooled into thinking that Donald Trump is someone who just wants to move away from this punitive justice system and wants to be a little more lenient, just remember the fact that he still wanted to execute the Central Park Five after they were exonerated from the wrongful conviction that sent them to prison, okay? After the DNA evidence exonerated them, he still wanted them to be executed. Yeah. That's who Donald Trump is. But he couldn't help himself in that clip because he mentioned Comey and the prosecutors behind Blagojevich's conviction. And so already you see that even though he was a Democrat, Donald Trump has some political motive here. Now let me give you some more detail into what Blagojevich was convicted of. So he was convicted back in 2011 by a federal jury in Chicago on 17 counts, including an attempt to sell the US Senate seat vacated when President Barack Obama was elected in 2008.
I mean, that's not so bad.
Well,
what's a senator?
It's extremely bad.
Who cares who a senator ends up being?
And understand that usually when a person in a position of power breaks the law, they are met with leniency. But what he did was so bad that his sentence was lengthy, right? For someone in a position of power. So for instance, he was sentenced to 14 years in prison and has been serving his prison time at a Colorado federal prison since 2012. His date for expected release was 2024, factoring in 2 years of credit for good behavior. Now, why did Trump decide to commute his sentence? Now, aside from the fact that Comey was behind Blagojevich's conviction, there's also the fact that there was an op-ed penned by him from prison. Blagojevich penned a column on Newsmax titled, "House Democrats Would Have Impeached Lincoln Amid the Now Wrapped Congressional Impeachment Efforts Against Trump." While he didn't mention Trump's name in the column, his wife Patty tagged the president's name as she retweeted the piece. And just to give you a little taste of what the op-ed said, "No president is safe if a majority of hyperpartisan House members from the opposition party are willing to abuse the Constitution and vote to impeach." So he's defending Donald Trump from prison. It's very clear that if you compliment Trump enough, he will do favors for you because he's this thin-skinned, like authoritarian who just wants validation and wants praise, and that's exactly what Blagojevich did in this case.
I think, I get what you're saying, but no, I think like, I know we're jaded or whatever, but I think like he penned the thing, never knowing that that's the guy that was gonna eventually commute a sentence. Like, isn't it kind of beautiful how the world works out someday? That like, it's like when Harry met Sally almost. It's so like, it's so self-serving. Not just that he already has, defended Trump, obviously, in his op-ed, but that Trump wants the precedent to be that if you can sort of besmirch a person who was involved in an investigation 8 years ago, you get off. Anything involving Comey, which is just Trump's inner circle, but also potentially Trump in the future too, you can totally pardon those people. We've already set that precedent. If you're corrupt, I mean, come on, it's not like you sold drugs or something. Like you tried to sell a Senate seat, that's not a real crime, right? So that sort of corruption-based prison time, they're gonna cut all that. I just love that Trump is still the guy that is supposed to be like, he's the one that remembers like the forgotten people. No, he's going around like helping the richest, best connected people evade jail time for crimes that don't even make any sense to regular people. Like make that an ad. The idea that he's going around, and it was Blagojevich, but it was also like a guy who was like screwing over investors and all that stuff. Like this sort of high like level economic and corrupt crime. He's the guy who's gonna go around like Santa Claus and make all their dreams come true, and get them out of prison, get like all their consequences just magically go away. Make that an ad.
And remember, the one, I guess, outlier that you can point to is Alice Johnson, whose sentence was commuted by Donald Trump. But the only reason why that happened is because you had Kanye West going around the country praising Trump, and then his wife, Kim Kardashian, was the one who was pushing for Miss Alice's sentence to be commuted. And so really are you complimenting Trump enough, or are you someone who was really close and friendly with Trump in the past? And in the case of Blagojevich, in the case of Roger Stone, there are political motivations and implications. And it's concerning because, look, all of this power is concentrated now in the executive branch, and the Attorney General, William Barr, is out there doing Donald Trump's bidding. And I think it's so incredibly pathetic that all it takes is one interview where William Barr, his Attorney General, says something a little negative about Donald Trump's social media behavior when it comes to these cases, and everyone's like, oh, would you look at that? Oh my, let's give him all this credit for speaking up against Trump. No, in my opinion, this was William Barr's way of saying like, yo, I'm helping you out, homeboy, but you're making me look real bad when you're putting this all out on social media. So can you just tone it down a little bit?
Yeah, or even more planned than that.
Right.
Everybody's talking about the ridiculous connection between us. I'm gonna criticize you, wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Because we know.
Don't worry about it though.
We know how Trump reacts to people who criticize him within his administration, even outside of his administration. Even the smallest critique will set Donald Trump off. But it didn't happen with William Barr speaking out against Trump in this case.
Yeah.
It is just gross. And by the way, so just an update on the whole Roger Stone story. As we know, Trump has been intervening in a number of criminal cases, including that of Michael Flynn, that of his longtime buddy, Roger Stone. And so federal judges have been concerned about this, and they're actually meeting. I don't know if they're gonna do anything about it, but there's been fallout after top officials at the Justice Department retracted their sentencing recommendation of 7 to 9 years in prison for Roger Stone. Stone was found guilty in November of lying to the House Intelligence Committee and obstructing its investigation into Russia's meddling in the 2016 presidential election. Roger Stone is, this fixture in GOP politics. He was also found guilty of threatening a potential congressional witness. So witness tampering is a huge federal crime.
He's only 67?
I know, he's not a looker. Prosecutors, by the way, recommended Stone serve 7 to 9 years in prison. The Department of Justice overruled them the next day, prompting all 4 prosecutors to withdraw from the case. One of them resigned entirely from the Justice Department. And so what followed? Strongly worded letters, no one cares, nothing's gonna happen. And now it turns out that a group of federal judges are getting together to discuss this, but it's also unclear what they're gonna do. So in response, a National Association of Federal Judges has called an emergency meeting to address growing concerns about the intervention of Justice Department officials and President Donald Trump in politically sensitive cases. Philadelphia US District Court Judge Cynthia Roof, who heads the Independent Federal Judges Association, said the group could not wait until its spring conference to weigh in on a deepening crisis. Roof said the group has not decided how it will report the results of its meeting, if at all. Then what's the point? Then what are we doing? What are we doing? This man is abusing his power constantly. A cute little judges meeting means nothing if you're not even gonna talk about what you're gonna do publicly or what you discussed during the meeting publicly.
Yeah. So this entire thing from when the 7 to 9 years was announced to today, it's just also, I guess, the natural evolution of the process we've been going through with Trump and his relationship with the DOJ and the Southern District of New York and all that, his hostility to investigations. So it's not surprising, I guess, but the idea that he's going to go around and just like his buddies, he's going to let them off, and anyone who there's this discussion about like Trump with the Mueller investigation, how much has been proven here. But with the people he's talking about pardoning now, there's like no question whatsoever that they broke the law willfully. They wanted to stop a legitimate investigation, and so they tried to obstruct it. There's no question there whatsoever, and he's just letting them off, and we can't even all agree that that's unacceptable.
It's crazy. It really
but this is not sketching out some sort of hypothetical future where law and order doesn't actually exist and there's no consequences for anything. That we're watching it every single day, and it's just like, oh yeah, hey, look at that. That's interesting. Let's just move on to other news.
The abuses of power are so obvious and transparent and concerning. If you genuinely believe in our Constitution, in American democracy, Donald Trump is single-handedly dismantling it. And William Barr, who has been called on to resign, has only helped him cover up his crimes, has only helped assist him in this. William Barr himself has been very clear in the past about how he believes our government should function. He does not believe in checks and balances. He doesn't believe in separation of power. He believes in the concentration of power in the executive branch, and he is helping to make that happen right now in real time. So again, look, I'm happy that these federal judges are concerned, but what are you gonna do about it? What is the action here? Because I think that's incredibly relevant, and to sit back and just let this happen right before our eyes is depressing and makes me question, where the country is headed in, and what does it mean for the 2020 election? If Donald Trump can brazenly get away with everything that he's been doing, what if he does lose the election and just decides that he's not going to accept the results?
Yeah, or maybe that seems too extreme. Like we can't
I don't
imagine
think
that.
it seems extreme.
I know,
at all.
but I'm saying, like, what if a Secretary of State, Republican Secretary of State, breaks the law to influence the vote, and let's say we're lucky enough to actually discover it, and Trump just pardons him? Why? Oh, he was just trying to be a good patriot. He was too enthusiastic or whatever. So we're gonna let him off. It would be too serious. Plus, like Comey criticized him on Twitter for doing it. Like all of these things are so much less hypothetical now.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. We really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.